Hey y'all, I'm so happy to be here tonight within Community Connections for the second episode of our newest initiative, The Everyday Bold Woman. And I've been giddy ever since I was able to book a session with Zanade Mann. And Zanade is a friend of mine. She's also the managing director of the Black Women's Business Collective. Y'all, you've got to check it out. She's doing some big stuff. And on top of that, she's a complete digital and media expert. I mean, this woman, you better get your notebooks out and start jotting down notes, because every time I talk to her, I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta write that down. So with that, we are going to start talking about the everyday bold woman. This is meant to be a very relaxed conversation and almost like a coffee date. And we're gonna get rolling. So I'm gonna kick it over to Zanade and let her tell all of you a little bit about herself.
Thank you so much, Starre. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. As Starre said, we are good friends and we've been good friends for a little while now. And I'm just happy to be welcomed into this space with your community. This is a beautiful community that you have built. I want to pat myself on the back and go, I was one of the first adopters of this community. And
you helped me build this community. I'm not afraid to put that out there.
I remember us having those late nights talking about, your passions. And I love, I get really excited about seeing women win and seeing women manifest what they want in real life. And this is your moment. So thank you so much for having me here. And as you said, I am Zanade, and I have over 15 years experience in marketing and communications with a strong specialty in social media marketing. It has been my life, essentially, besides my personal life. But other than that, it has been my business life, my 9 to 5 life, everything for over a decade. And recently, because of the pandemic and how everyone's either losing jobs or losing contracts. For me specifically, with my group of sister friends, we were losing out on some business, and I created an organization called the Black Women's Business Collective, which is essentially to uplift Black and Afro-Latina business owners, Black and Afro-Latina business owners throughout the United States. And we are expanding, because I did get a little pushback from women saying, hey, what about us in different countries? And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that you would be interested in this. And it is currently expanding, and we have moved forward into a new program called Indefinite Breakthrough that will be launching very soon. But this is really exciting. Oh yeah.
I didn't even know what? That, but I
right.
I'm pretty intrigued.
sometimes you have to build in silence, and sometimes you have to build openly. And for me, the Black Women's Business Collective was built openly, and I put myself out there, which we'll talk about being that bold woman. It takes boldness to do things like that. And you just got to do what you have to do. But Indefinite Breakthrough is coming out only because I am like working out the kinks of what exactly that looks like to best serve my target market, which, are these beautiful women who want to scale their businesses.
And you have such a strong base of support. I mean, and a wonderful, you're kind of like a little celebrity for me on my little show.
That's so funny.
What's coming on? You're
so silly.
Friends. I was like, y'all better tune in right now. But so for everyone listening, I in the chat box, if you have any questions for Zanade, let me know. I'm checking out the chat box. Like I said, this is kind of relaxed. So at the end, if there are any questions, I'll definitely shoot them over to Zanade. I can see you all in there. I see someone said hello.
Hi.
And someone's clapping. So you have people fan clubbing you right now, Zanade.
We're all a community. We're all a community. No fans.
Yes. So for those of you in here, be sure to give permission, and let me state your name in the chat box, just because it won't show me your name, and that way we know who you are. But we're so excited here. Okay, so Zanade is always in motion. She's always creating. And she was being modest. Zanade has played a very huge role in community connections. And when I've talked in the past about it was over a glass of wine and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't not be social, Zanade was totally like that person who was like coaching me through building this group and setting it up. And I want to give her full credit for that. And even today, she gave me a tip just a minute ago. So she's completely amazing. I don't want to allow her to just be modest because her work is incredible.
I am extremely modest.
So we have Lisa Babs in here. We have Melissa.
Hey.
Hey, y'all. If you have a question for Zanade, just let me know. Thanks for letting me see your name. I can see you all now. So what I want to talk about now is Zanade and I have worked together in the past at the national level for women's empowerment. And we were both doing that work still today. And so what this conversation is really defining the everyday bold woman. And Zanade is totally a person that I talked with and strategized with and really worked with to develop this idea. And I think Zanade, you know, I felt like you and I really connected on this idea that, especially through COVID, we weren't seeing the everyday woman, the everyday bold woman being highlighted in the media and, you know, throughout funding and just how they should be. And I felt like you and I kind of really came together on that. But that's why I created this conversation, as you know. And so I would love to hear your take on what the everyday bold woman means to you, but also your take on what the everyday bold Black woman means to you, because we want to hear about that. So
yeah,
get away.
So I will say briefly, just for clarity, with all of us, just as women, right? We have to be bold. I like the word fearlessness. That's actually my word for 2021. And I felt after this, and I mean, we're still in this pandemic, but in this moment of what we were going through, I said, I need to move fearlessly or bold with boldness as hello, I see everybody coming in. I need to move with boldness. And what that means really for women is being able to do what's in your heart, do what you have been stopping yourself from doing. There's a lot, right? And and specifically for Black women and Afro-Latino women who I've worked with, we have a database of over 3,000 women, who thankfully they have sent so much information over to me and my team to let me know what it is that they're struggling with. And really at the heart of it is fear.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but how many people are in your database?
Oh, we have 3,000 women, 3,000 plus Black women and Afro-Latino women in the database. And yeah, maybe we'll get into that story. Yeah.
Take that in. So sorry that I paused you, but for those who don't know, that's a lot of people to answer her call, and it's significant. So I just want to highlight. So give it back to Zanade.
I will also say that it's pretty significant for me. There's always going to be that story of someone who started this community or any community, and now they have 10 million people in there. But we're talking about taking something as small as an idea and just like being at that moment, I was alone because I was creating in silence. And before I started saying to the world, hey, you know what? This is what I'm doing, whether you're with it or whether you're not, I'm still going to do it and I don't care. Right. And before I got to that moment, I was developing this by myself in this. And I shared that story with you in my very hot bedroom because we didn't have the AC hooked up. It was just this last summer. Oh, it was horrible. But right. But that's what kept me going, to be honest. It was those late nights and I'm like, I'm sweating already. Just get it out. Right. And this is just what, happened. But what's remarkable about the number that responded, and the other day I was showing you how the numbers were picking up and how I followed the strategy to make that happen. There are so many other competitors. There are so many other communities that Black women can join, I remember the first email that I sent out to the collective. I call them the collective, by the way. The first email I sent out, I said, hey, this was the subject line. When all the hype goes away, where will Black women in business be? What will we do next? What happens next? And I said that because there was a lot of hype around supporting Black owned businesses, Black women owned businesses, or whatever. There was a lot of hype going on especially with the PPP loans and everything else. And I said, okay, well, don't get so excited about the hype, because at some point, especially the way media works, the hype is going to go away. And then the rest of us are left here. I need you to join me. So I think, and actually, I know the reason why they ran to the community is because it's something new. It was something new. It was free. I was being very open about it. I didn't ask you for a dime. Only thing I asked you for is your email address, right? It was just typical stuff. Your email, your name, what's your business, all about them. And that's what I'm saying. And this is why some may think I'm modest, because my service is of others, not of myself.
It
And when
is.
you, right?
Yeah.
So if you can
Really
go
are.
beyond yourself, it shows that other
It
people
does.
can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right. So they can speak on these things like, oh, Zanade does this, Zanade. But for me, it's just like, I am bringing a service to women. I mean, historically, that's who I've worked with. So, it's like, I'm bringing a service to women, and I'd argue the most marginalized group of women in business and health. And I mean, every little thing you can look at the tabloids and news, everything today, everything is the lowest on the totem pole. We're talking about Black and Hispanic women in health, wealth, mindful, your mind, everything that's going on. And I touched a pain point for many people, for many, many women in my market. So I honestly believe that's what made it catch on, because once they got there, and it's been a year, it's a little less than a year since I've developed this collective.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't asked them for a dime.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we've given out more money, right? We've given out money, right? And you can call it social entrepreneurship. This is not a 501c3. I'm not playing, that game. And, I didn't do that yet. This is not what this is about. This is a movement, right? This is more of a movement that my goal. And if you go and look at my Twitter, I put it right in my handle after my name. I am fighting for revenue equality for, it's Black women-owned business, but it goes even further than that. As my research expands and I take in more information, because I'm learning too about other groups that are suffering economically, it's starting to expand. And that's really where Indefinite Breakthrough came from. And I said, you know what? It's not only us, right? It's a lot of us. And what can we do? Or what are the things? And we'll talk a little more about, my findings, and I call it my cash method of the things that I believe we need to succeed. But just bringing in that sincerity, my integrity, and just knowing that this is a pain point that some people just really don't care about. So that's an open opportunity in the market for me. And because I am a businesswoman, so I also know that side, right? So if I see the whole, and it's just like, there are 2.6, and this is just documented. We don't know how many women don't have their businesses registered. 2.6 million Black women-owned businesses in the United States. No one's really servicing them. Now we're starting to see all this fund for this and $10 billion for this. And okay, again, I always talk about where's the clear pathway for these things, because I'm talking to 3,000 plus women, which is a small percentage of the 2.6 million. But they're all like, I don't even know how I can get the grant, or whenever I apply for this, and I don't know what that means to have a marketing plan. What is it that I do? There's so many needs that this particular group.
I want to start a website, and we didn't talk about this, but I don't know if there's any stories you could share about women that you've helped through the Phoenix Fund. We haven't even talked about the Phoenix Fund. We've talked about
Yeah, sure. I could dive into that a little bit.
I have one story. You've shared a few with me, and they were so incredible. And I thought they really spoke well to just your heart, your giving heart. And I would love for you to share some here if you feel comfortable.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely love the Phoenix Fund. One, because the Phoenix Fund is named after my youngest daughter. We named her.
My youngest right here. She just doesn't want to be on camera.
Oh, well, hi. No, I don't blame her. Like, I don't like camera either, but I'll do this for you. No, I'm playing. I'm not a big camera person. But so the Phoenix Fund, really, the idea of rising out of the ashes, that's how we named our daughter. But this idea came up because of the data that I was able to track from the women who had joined the collective. So remember, I said I started in the beginning. I very simple form just to get some information about who they are and what it is that they sell or want to sell, also their aspirations, all of that. And I looked at the spreadsheet and it was massive. And I said, there's so many needs. There were so many women that said, because I actually would reach out to and say, hey, I checked out every single business. I'm real about mine. I checked out every single business. And some of them I reached out to and said, I noticed that you didn't link your website, right? So if I promote your business to people and they come here and they want to buy something, there's no website. How are you making sales? How are you marketing yourself? And I got real answers. I can't afford the expenses to that, right? I lost my job. One woman was making masks and we gave her a fund. She was making masks and she had lost her job. She couldn't pay her mortgage. And she's like, I'm just selling these masks like to, supplement or do something extra so I can bring in some money. And she had like this little machine. I forgot what it's called, maybe a Cricut or whatever, but she had a tiny one. And she's just like, oh, I would be able to make so many more if I had the larger one. So the fund that she actually won for was for LLC formation. But then after I spoke to every single woman that we granted money to. And when she told me, she just happened to mention it. I don't know this woman. She's from Georgia. I didn't know her from anywhere. And it's just my heart, my trusting heart. You know what I mean? And I said to her, I said, well, what would make your job more efficient, right? Like if you're only able to make, let's say 5 masks in, I don't know, maybe 2-3 hours. I'm making these numbers up. And we're like, how can we, and I think about what I've learned in business and what I've learned in Shark Tank, all these things. Like, you need to get that production going. How can you get the production going? Well, I can't really afford to, hire a factory or, whatever. So I said, well, is there something else like a tool that you need? And she says, there's a larger Cricut. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's big. Yeah. I can make shirts and I can make this. She was like, if I had that big one. So I said to her, I said, okay, how much is the machine? She tells me how much is the machine. I said, no problem. We'll take care of it. And she like, she's falling out.
Yeah.
And these are, and the thing that's powerful about it is that these are micro grants. These aren't, I don't have Goldman Sachs money. You know what I mean? I don't, this isn't, the Phoenix Fund is not even a 501c3 yet. We are just taking donations in and we've had generous donations. We're still looking for donations because they're, the requests never stop, right? But we did have the pause. However, if you are speaking to someone who has a passion for entrepreneurship and someone who says, I want to create, or maybe they want to get out of their jobs. And we'll talk a little bit about that, right? Like maybe their jobs are just so toxic that they need some other joy in their lives. And they've created this passion. And the only thing that's stopping them is not their drive and their sweat equity. It literally is the fact that you can't afford a machine or you can't afford a website. Like, no, that is not fair. And that access to capital, no, I don't need an angel investor or a VC, a venture capitalist for $19 million. I'm not there yet. I need somebody to believe in my smaller vision right now, help me get there through business development, right? Warm introductions, like educate me. These women are willing to learn. Like we are one of the most fastest educated group of people, right? So we're out there learning. We're getting those degrees because we want to know more. We want to, rise like the Phoenix. And with that, whatever it is that I could do in this capacity, and I think we raised like a little over $11,000 in a couple of months. It seems like a lot, but once we got through all the applications this summer, and I was just like, I was like, oh my God, LLC in Massachusetts plus website, that's a G, right? That's $1,000 right there. And that's one person, right? So, we're still expanding.
For those who don't know, incorporating LLCs varies by state. We were talking about this recently. Yeah. So that's kind of what Zanade is talking about is, it's different expenses for different areas, different people. And yes, it's 11,000, but right. Page to share your donation page, Zanade, and I've dropped it in the chat. You have people you as well. You have a fan named Lisa Dabb saying exactly, and
hey,
really agreeing with you on what you have to say about making that connection and that void between because in my work in women's empowerment, I saw that too. It was often, it wasn't really that there were huge chain links missing in the chain.
Mm.
It was like half a chain link or one chain link.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what is so precious to me about you. And I'll say it again, is your giving spirit and heart, because a lot of people aren't like that. And when you have someone who is doing the work that you are doing, it can transform people's lives
That's right.
completely. And
That's
that is the work that you are doing for so many women. And that's why I was so excited to have you on here, because like I said, Zanade has helped me a ton with community connections and my ideas. And she's done that from her giving heart. And, you know, that's a special person that does something like that. So
oh,
really want to lift you up. And it's just so fun talking about all the work you're doing, because, you know, we're good friends and I always think like I know. And then I'm like, wow. And then I just love everything linked together. Like, I love how you just went for it with the Black Women's Business Collective.
That's
And
it.
I'm a data girl, everybody. I had a previous life, is what I call it. And I was a financial analyst. So I was an analyst. And her receiving those 3,000 responses just from this, what would you call it? I mean, you said you kind of went into this and you just took off running, right? So you don't have Goldman Sachs money, right? And you got
Right.
that great
Right.
response. It's just, it's really quite a testimony.
Oh, well,
So,
thank you so much.
yeah, no, I'm such a fan. So with that, you know, with the work that you and I do in women's empowerment, women's leadership, and I know for me, there was a tipping point at when I became what I like to say now, an everyday bold woman. There was a tipping point that led me to follow my passion. Um, for me, it was dealing with toxic workplaces and environments, and just finally taking that leap. And you know, thus led me to where I am today. So, what is that tipping point just for you that led you to kind of step out? Because there really is a difference, and we talked about this between the everyday woman and the everyday bold woman. And I think
Mm-hmm.
where I'm defining that difference is, what was that moment when you're like, no, I'm going after my own passion, and this is my why, right? So, what was
Yep.
that for you, Zanade? Like,
All right.
I
Do
know.
y'all want to laugh? I always have a story. I have a deep I've always this is one of my favorite sayings, and sometimes it goes over people's heads, but I have literally lived many lives in this one 37-year life that I have currently. I've worn many hats, I've been in many situations, I've had to break through so many things, and I'll tell you here's the real story. I was 9. I have a 9-year-old story. Like, I was 9, and whatever. Everyone's talking about Blue Ivy and Beyonce getting her Grammy at 9 years old. I'm like, I got my Grammy at 9 years old. Let me tell you how.
Ooh, I can't
So
wait. I can't believe I've asked you this before.
this is actually, I don't think you heard this story before, but this is actually one of my favorite business tales to share. So I was always one of the top candy selling salespeople in the New York City's Department of Education, always. And I'm not going to take the credit for all on my own. My grandfather, who was, I come from a strong military family, and my grandfather was in the military. He was also someone who worked for the Postal Service for 25 years. So,
Wow.
needless to say, he knew everyone in New York. That's how I felt. So, him and I would come in with this bright smile, and, we just networked together. We didn't even realize we were
I
doing
love
this. It was
it.
just, and almost every year, it seemed that I was either near the top or I was the top. But this one moment, and I think I was like not third grade or third or fourth grade, something like that. And it was always small the way they acknowledged it. It was just like, oh, you sold the most out of the school, and out of the entire school, and the school was pretty big. So I would just go, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. But this year was different. They called my name over the loudspeaker, And they called me to the office, and the principal, who I just loved, I was just talking about him the other day. I know he's probably no longer living, but he was really impactful to my growth as far as a kid in school. But I digress. He calls me in and he says, Mr. Murphy, he goes, congratulations, young lady. I just got off the phone with, whoever. I'm old, so I can't remember exactly whose name he said, but I just got off the phone with so-and-so, and they said that you have sold the most candy out of for the candy sale this year. And I, again, I was just like, oh, okay, that's great. I knew that I sold the most out of the school, and I lived in Staten Island, so I knew that.
Yeah.
So he goes, no, I don't think you understand. So I'm just like, okay. And he's like, you have sold the most candy out of the entire New York City school district.
No way.
And the New York City School District, if you don't know, is the largest school district in the United States.
I did not. And we have a lot of people on here who probably don't know that either. So
yeah, so the New York City School District is the largest. It still is, and I believe maybe California is second or something like that. But we are the top. So there is currently it's 1.1 million students in the system. So there's a lot. So it's a huge district. That's not even the great part. Here's the turning point. Here's the tipping point. So we get all these boxes. My grandfather, there was so much candy that we were able to sell that he had to come and like pick up these massive cardboard boxes filled with chocolates and popcorn and stuff. Now, they said, pick your prize. Now, if you know how those prizes work, they're crap, right? You sell $20,000 worth of stuff and you get, a bag of Legos or something, right? And in my child mind, I wanted to know what was I going to get. So they told me, you get Jeffrey bucks. And for some of you, if you're young and you don't know, that is Toys R Us. And they used to actually give, you could buy Jeffrey bucks and then you give it to your kids, like gift certificates or whatever. And they told me I would get $300. So that was really exciting for me. Long story short, I went and bought, I think I was the first one in my community with the Super Nintendo. I am dating myself. So I had the Super Nintendo. And that was all good until we had to turn all of the candy sale money in. And my grandfather made me count the money with him. And it was a lot of ones and a lot of fives, a couple of 20s in there. It was a lot. And it was like a big envelope filled with money. And I said to my grandfather, and he didn't do this with me the years prior. So I was like, well, what are we doing with this money? I was like, oh my goodness, I get a Super Nintendo. We get all this money. Everybody got candy. We're good. And he's like, no, we have to turn this into the school.
Right.
And that was the turning point. And I said, wait a minute. We sold all of these bars of candy. And all I got was a Super Nintendo and just like a thank you. I was like, that's it?
Yeah.
Ever since that moment, I told my grandfather, we will not be selling candy for the New York City Department of Education. And I started buying candy from the corner store, selling it myself, and made a huge profit. And that was the turning point for me on how I was going to own my own economic future. And whether that meant I had to, because I've had to dip and dive in 9-to-5 jobs. I mean, we all have that hustle. But the fact that I owned it at that very moment, that I'm not going to allow anyone to ever do so. I thought it was a scam, and I didn't even know what a scam was, but I thought it was a scam. I'm like, this is if I could talk to, and that, you have a question, right? Like if I could talk to my younger self, I would tell my younger self that was a scam, girl.
Next question, actually.
That was a scam, girl. I'm telling you. No.
Great segue. Okay, that is the best story we've had so far. That's why I love talking to you, because every time I'm just learning.
Oh, I got a lot.
We've got people on here saying love it, So, okay. Yeah. So the next question is actually, if you could talk to your younger self today, what would you tell yourself?
Girl, that was a scam. No, I'm just
yeah.
I'm not listening. Okay, so let me see. I would honestly tell my younger self that everything that you believe and everything that you want to do in life, you can absolutely do it. You are someone who matters. And I say this because in hindsight, there were so many moments in my life that I thought like, even, you know what, even today, but I'm so bold with it and so fearless that some of these crazy thoughts that come in my head, like creating a Black Women's Business Collective, I warred with myself for at least a couple of weeks saying, no one's going to care about this because the fact that I'm saying the word Black women, they're not going to care. They're going to ignore me. They're going to, I mean, this is the truth. And I've had business advisors say, oh, maybe that's not, let's call it something else. You know, don't name who it is. And I said, you know what? No. And I was inspired by the movements out here, the different, you know, even thinking about like the NAACP, right? I'm just like, if you take the acronym apart, that actually stands for, you know, it's telling you who this organization. I said, no, you know, I'm not the first one to do that. And I did it, right? So telling my younger self to keep on going with what it is that you've been writing in your journal, that you've been dreaming about. I used to lay up in my bed. I had nothing else to do. I had no little siblings at the time. I used to just lay in my bed and just dream of the absolutely impossible. And I've actually manifested a few of those dreams. And I would just tell my younger self to just keep on going. You are not crazy. Even if you don't have the support, you know, I'm spiritual. So I feel that I would tell my younger self, God put these visions in you for a reason, right? To manifest it, not to just sit here and be like, oh, that's a stupid idea. That's a stupid idea and ignore it, right? And I think a lot of us, even not even younger selves, you have to convince yourself. I wake up and you notice I listen to so many motivational tapes, motivational music, motivational books. You have to sell yourself on this positivity because you can see, look how crazy this world is right now, what's going on in this world. You have to literally sell yourself that you can do it. You're the best. You're the because ain't nobody else gonna do that for you. Exactly. Like unless you're a celebrity, no one's really gonna say, you know what, Zanade, like your circle, like you will say things like that to me, and I am humble because I'm like, wow, this is okay. Well, thank you. You know, and sometimes I'm like, who's she talking about, right? Like, you know, whatever. But you do have to sell yourself on just keeping your head up, and how are you going to rise out of any situation. And that's just it. And I think we also need to, speaking about younger self, it's important for us to acknowledge the youth and the children in our lives, whether you have kids or not. They are important because we need to stop and think while we're in our adult land that the kids, especially in this moment, their minds are not the way it was a year or two ago, right? Exactly. So what are they thinking? Are things going to be different? Are, you know, what am I going to see my friends again? Like, this is, you know, so we need to talk to our younger selves and heal that as much as we can, whatever happened. And we need to heal the youth right now.
Yeah. Oh, you're touching on my passions. You know, as you know, I love all your answers. And I agree. I mean, and the Everyday Bold Woman we are going to be releasing some future plans about how we are going to specifically help mothers and homemakers currently during the pandemic. And that's going to be coming out in probably 4 to 6 weeks. We have really big plans. Zanade has definitely been a confidant in that as well, and super exciting. But yeah, I want to just take a minute to focus on what you said about the youth and about taking the time to do that, because that's how the conversation came to be as well. Is I, for one, am just honestly horrified at how the attention hasn't been focused on family life as I feel it should be in the media. And, you know, it's just COVID has changed life as we know it. And I, for one, saw emotional changes within my children. And I know that that's a common story at this point. And why isn't society highlighting these needs and highlighting, the needs of the youth and the needs of the mom that can't work? I mean, I don't know if everyone knows this, but, you know, there's pandemic assistance right now. And literally there's pandemic economic assistance that you can get if you are the caretaker for your children. And I know mothers who are on it, and that's the reality, right? So I wanted to share that we are going to be focusing on that here at Community Connections and have some really cool plans. And I just love that you brought that in, because Zanade you have a master's in education, right?
Yes, I was a well, I'm always an educator.
You're always an
Whether
educator, yeah, and I
right.
think everyone knows that here. Of course, I know it. And
Right. I did teach. I was a public school teacher for the very system that scammed me out of that candy money. No, I'm just joking. The New York City public school system, and it was a beautiful experience. But I know exactly. I am a mother of three daughters. It's girl
daughter.
power right, girl power all around me. The thing that is challenging for us in this moment right now, and I'll answer the question about why the media is not doing what they need to do. One, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that the media just, it's like one of these years that the media is like, okay, what's important? What am I highlighting? That doesn't excuse the stakeholders that have that platform who can talk about it, right? So thinking about, I won't pinpoint anyone in particular, but if you are, let's say you are the CEO of a parenting magazine or something like that, right? Like these are the stories that you should be highlighting in your thing, in your magazine, and then also other platforms. So I personally think that we are expected as women to be the supporters and the caregivers. It's always been like that, right? Like even if you're a working woman, like I'm a working woman, I have businesses, all this stuff, and still I'm expected. And it's not like, my husband comes in and you need to do it. No, it's not that. It's just tonight, right? You and I spoke earlier and it was just like, girl, let me finish this food before I get on this call to you. I gotta finish dinner.
Hold on.
Right. And this is what, and it's not, and I get it, right? Like some of my sister friends are like, girl, you better have him put some food in a crock pot. Okay, right. It's just that expectation that women take care of everything. And I won't lie. I was raised in by beautiful, beautiful women who were caretakers. And I don't know. I've never actually had the opportunity. My grandmother who did raise me, she's no longer here as my older self. So I didn't have an opportunity to say, hey, grandma, did you really want to be a caregiver? Or did you really enjoy that? She looked like she enjoyed every single day of her life with us, right? So there are women who enjoy that. It shouldn't be a punishment. And it's almost like they don't care. Like, oh, you'll just make it because women are supposed to be strong. And then for some marginalized groups, it's even worse. It's just like, you're working you're an essential worker and you have, right, Instapot, I'm with you. I got crock pots.
Me too.
Crock pots, Instapots, every
Alaska, and I'm like, we have to pack the Instant Pot. We have to pack the Instant Pot.
Absolutely. It's a life. I've been using Instapots, crock pots. I've been using crock pots since, I don't know. Like I have an older daughter. I've been using it for years. But I just think that we are just supposed to take it all and be these super women. And as I was going to say, for marginalized groups, in particular, I'll speak for Black women. We got that strong Black women, and I don't. I wrote an article about that, how I am no longer going to accept being called a strong Black woman, and not strong in a sense like, oh, my ancestors fought for me. And, no, that is some strength. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here talking to you today if it wasn't for my ancestors. So I'm not speaking to that as an insult. What I'm speaking to is this idea. And you all should read that article. It's really, really good.
Yeah, we'll share it in the group for sure.
Really just that idea that no, I want to live in joy. You know what I mean? And that's something that's missing from a lot of us. I want to live in joy. It's hard to live in joy during this pandemic. And no, male and female, no one's talking about the kids, how this is affecting the kids. What is this going to look like 10 years from now? We know that there are going to be people studying it and all that stuff, but we need to deal with it because in 3 to 5 years, we are going to see the effects of, children being ignored. And I'm not a hypocrite at all. There's been many a days that my youngest, the namesake of the Phoenix Fund, has literally, I'm in the middle of a meeting and she's like, but mom, I need you right now. And I literally had to say, no, not right now.
I've been
there. right? And then I would like literally think about it at night, like, what kind of mother am I being? And that's that mommy guilt, which we also need to stop doing, right?
I
But
know it's a hard balance.
it is a hard balance, but
Yeah.
still, it's just like, really honoring that. And I'm glad that you mentioned the pandemic assistance fund, or, money that they have, because some women literally, more than some, are making this tough decision right now that they have to leave the workplace.
Leave, yes,
Right.
yes.
And I want to,
That are leaving the workforce, actually.
that's right. That's right. And I'm going to push back just a little, that if, you know where I'm going to go with this. If you have employers who, those, you ever read those articles that said, oh, here's the top 10 employers to work for if you're a mother, or, all this stuff. I want to know, how are they treating moms in this very moment? I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking, because I have friends and women in the collective have literally told me, I am really pushing to start my business or get my business to scale because I need to leave my 9 to 5. That is literally the sole reason, so they can have peace and joy, because the job is driving them crazy and making them ill. And I've been there before. So, you know what I mean?
Me too. And there can be a gap when you're dealing with people who aren't parents right now during COVID. I mean, that is a gap. It is a gap.
That's right.
It's just like, me as a white woman will never completely understand, a Black woman's whole story, because I have to recognize my white privilege, and it's the same in a sense. It's not the same, but in a sense, just, you have to recognize that you're not a parent right now. You don't have kids who are going through like emotional problems. And what I'm so sick of is just, I mentor other women, and have had experiences, and you can't say you're there for people right now and not mean it. And I see a lot of that currently in the news and within these companies, that you're talking about. And it's unacceptable. And yes, it's 21, but there is still so much in the unknown. And just like you said, and thank you, Lisa Dabb, she's saying
I saw that
just began today for 1 to 12 years. You're exactly right, Zanade. I mean, the repercussions to our children is gonna, I don't know what they're gonna be, right?
Yeah. Let me tell you something. This is a pain point for me, and I'm really passionate about it. I have worked with youth in New York City. That's my home base. So I've worked with youth across the country, but mainly in New York City. And I've seen the effects pre-pandemic of children who have, food insecurity, right? Who have parents who are struggling, parents who are working 3 jobs to pay rent, parents that are incarcerated, parents who are no longer living, children living with, grandparents and other family members or foster care. And I'm like, I'm sitting here, I've been very reflective this year. The children that I know throughout these years that have been dealing with this, and maybe they're in their teens now, or they're just like maybe 9 or something like that. If they were dealing with that when I was actively educating them, I cannot imagine what they are going through in the middle of a pandemic and having to be home every single day when there is not a good environment going on. Maybe there is a great environment going on, but mom and dad has to work all day. There's so many different challenges, and it's not going to take one group. It's going to take all of us collectively to not solve. I don't like the word solve, but to literally advocate for these issues in a way to help alleviate the stress and the after effects of these things, right? So you can say, oh, I'm gonna build, for food insecurity, I'm gonna build a soup kitchen or something like that. Okay, well, that is going to serve a particular group of people in a certain geographic location. That's great. You keep on doing your thing, right? I'm going to come over here and inspire women who want to start their businesses and basically own their economic freedom by doing this. That's my thing, right? You are doing your leadership, women's training and all these things to make sure that women are bold and fearless, that they can actually be okay with receiving services to uplift them so they can then lean back. And I'm all about, leaning back and getting someone else and rising together and really just helping each other. But we all have to work within our capacity and our passions of what it is that we want to do. Yes, I know business is business. Everyone wants to make money. I used to tell, I was a teacher trainer for a couple of years, and I would always tell them, you have a choice. You in the classroom, you can be a good teacher or you can be a bad teacher. Either way, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid. So make the best decision. And for you, the best decision, right? Because there's some challenges. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of challenges that we face in the classroom as teachers. But I said, you have a choice. Either way, you can say, oh, I'm just here to make my money, right? That's a bad choice. You're going to make your money, whether you're good or bad, go with good. And just to bring that to the larger discussion, and employers, and really talking about the support of moms and dads. I don't want to forget dads, but moms and dads in this situation, right? Moms and dads in this situation, we have to understand that it does take a village. It truly does take a village, and that village should be your employer as well, right? Because if you don't care about your staff and you don't care about, if someone, I get it. Like, you don't have to, as your employer, go to the house with couple of cans of food. You don't have to do all of that. Maybe you should. It depends on your organizational dynamics. But if you don't truly care about the people that you hire, you're not invested in them, and you want them to be invested in you, but they're struggling. We are at a point right now where people are struggling. I hear these stories, right? I live these stories. Like, I know this of the people with no children. So they totally don't understand what it feels like to play teacher and leader and take care of yourself in between and try to throw some food in an Instant Pot. Like, they don't understand that. They can't comprehend it. Maybe they don't even care. So right. So there are some women who are literally dropping out of the workforce, not because they got fired, because they just can't do it anymore. Right. They're just like, I can't.
They're literally under duress.
Right. Right.
That's what we're seeing. And yeah. And
yep. Yeah, you and I could go on for that, but really it is, and then you have to. I tell my husband all the time, and I try not to get down on him too much. He's in the U.S. Army. He's away a lot, I mean, right? Like, in January, he was gone the whole time, right? And I had to do all of this on my own. So I can't. I'm not, I'm forced with this question, like, do I stop doing this for my business? Do I leave my job? Because I'm not getting the support. Right. When you own your business, that's one thing. But when you're in a system, or you're in a business, whatever it is that you work in with other people, if the community around you, they're not willing to understand that I mean, I don't even have to tell you that we're going through all of this, because it's out in the world. We're in a pandemic. So why do I have to tell you, my daughter's in the back, you see this, right? Like, if I have to take a moment, then I have to take a moment. Right. But then what happens is, because of the way these employers are making us feel as mothers, right? We're feeling like, you know what? I'm what's it called? A work performance plan or something like that. I know so many Black women who are on these. I think it's like because they claim they didn't do their job effectively. So they put these on. That's the thing that they put them on right before they try to fire them, right? And to either be putting, I think it's called a work performance something, whatever. But to even be putting women through that duress, as you said, in this moment, you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. You know what I mean?
You really
totally ashamed. All of these, and there are some great employers that are really. I know, like, who's the group that it's one of these big Fortune 500 companies where they just said the workers, everyone's going to work indefinitely. And it's not even like, oh, until next year. It's just kind of like, you know what? We have streamlined our business, and now we know how everyone can work from home if they choose to. Now to give you agency and options in your business, right? Not saying, I don't trust you. I want to make sure you're on all day, put you on 9,000 Zoom calls to make sure that you're on all day, right? It's just like, no, even if, and I'm going to be real. Even if I took an hour to go lay myself down and get myself together, because I am not only homeschooling, I'm cooking, I'm running businesses, I'm running my job. I'm
throwing dirty clothes in the laundry so that,
trying to put on some lipstick. I'm trying, like,
yeah,
give me a moment, right? Like, give me a moment. We are in
and
we
don't
know now.
words, and
Right, right.
act like you are, but your actions prove otherwise. That's
That's
what
right.
research
That's
and
right.
experience. That's
That's
what
right.
is happening.
That's right. And the proof is in the pudding right now that a lot of these businesses, I'm going to say about a good 80% of them, can probably run without having mothers right now struggle with who's going to watch their kids while they go into the office. Because some offices have gone back, right? And then even with that, it's, offer flex time. Don't just put it in your manuals and never allow your employees to use it. Yeah, like I have a little group. I mean, we have it's called Black Women's Chat, and it's hilarious sometimes because we get in there and we start screenshotting and sharing everything that happened throughout the day, and we're just like, it's insane the stories that, one day I'm gonna ask them for permission. Like, can we publish this in a book, because this is amazing what we go through on a day-to-day basis with these employers and with these just people in general. And but just to bring it back in context, some of us are doing okay, and I don't, I want to separate that, right? Like, I want to honor I'm not an essential worker, right? Maybe for my job I am or whatever, but I'm not someone who, my daughter works in a supermarket. She is an essential worker, right?
Right,
So I honor them because every day they have to deal with anti-maskers and,
right.
people who are being rude even in this moment, and they have to work these long hours. And now imagine all of that, and then you're concerned about who's watching your kids, or, are you going to have a
I
job
know,
in 2 weeks, right? And if you need to take a day. And I'll tell you, for my own daughters, they have been in and out of school for the last year because one minute they're open, someone gets COVID, they got to shut down. Now I have to pivot my whole life just to now serve them. So now it's not just, oh, put them on the Zoom thing. No, 12 o'clock, I got to make lunch. They need a snack by 10:30 or what. So I have to now manage multiple things. And it's,
right. And
I don't know. I don't see the pathway through this. I really don't.
I don't either. And that's what these conversations will start to forge. And with the work that, that I'll be doing in the future. But, you
I'm
know,
excited about that. Let's throw that in there.
sorry, everybody on here. I know we're like keeping this big secret, but it's going to be, it's hopefully really going to make an impact with a part of what we're discussing. And, I want to say, I've experienced worked with employers who have said, oh, just do the virtual homework for your child. And, you talk about laying awake at night. And
Right.
at first I was like, I didn't know what to say, and then it was like, and then I laid awake that night and I was like, it's really hard to balance out, I think, when women have the instincts already to be the end all be all and to be a
Hmm.
problem solver and
The strong woman.
to every
Right.
woman,
There
right?
you go. There
And
you go.
it's just, yeah. I mean, I think we've said a lot there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We could go on and on because people want. You know what? These are challenges that are real. It's
Yeah,
not. I was talking to someone the other day, honestly, about domestic violence. That is something that I have not seen in the news. Maybe I'm not looking at the right news, but they're not talking about women who were suffering domestic violence issues pre-pandemic. Like, what are these women doing locked up in these? Because they,
right.
you may see those Lifetime stories, right? She's being abused and, all this stuff, but then she goes to her 9 to 5, so she has a little bit of escape. Now she doesn't have an escape.
Right.
What's happening, right? And suicide. I'm not hearing things about
Totally.
that. I know it's happening. I know it is.
Well, and abuse happens more at home when the children are at home, just like,
Oh wow.
and then also a part, my research I'm going to be upfront with everybody. I'm very authentic and real, and I'm probably way too transparent, but, you know, you've gotten a real sense of my mission here and this focus on really mothers, but we've been talking so much about mothers and parents, and it's so cool to do this actually with Zanade here. I want to pause and also recognize like the women teachers and father teachers, but because I don't see that either in the media. You know, the thing is the teachers are working their tails off right now. And I have had the best teachers in Arkansas and in Alaska. They have been, I mean, just almost like therapists, and that is not who they're supposed to be, you know?
Right.
And then like when it first happened, you know, I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't, because I was balancing that more than full-time job with my kids at home. I mean, I had a total meltdown. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like one of my kids' teachers and I was like freaking out. And then she mentioned just off, you know, the side, yeah, you know, I'm about to do the same thing with my daughter. And it halted me. And I was like, oh my God, you know, they're doing all this work. And at least I am at home. Like you said, I'm not an essential worker either. And I am able to stay confined to my home. And our teachers are out there fighting for our children and are also then going home and working with their kids, or, you know, they're at home, maybe doing virtual or whatnot. But I just wanted to bring that up as well before we move on.
Oh, that's a good. I want to drop something in there. I still have a lot of my teacher friends. I'm so blessed to have these buckets of like sister groups, and you know, you all are my sisters. So when I say sisters, I don't mean just, you know, just Black women or whatever, but I have my sister groups and my teacher sister groups. I was all in the text messages like, how are y'all doing? Because I know they're mothers as well. And it's been hard because there are, you know, there are people, even their employers, their principals and stuff are not being lenient on things. And I understand, you know, the children are very important, but I do like to say, and this is for mothers, just to tie it back for moms, you can't be 100% for your children if you're not 100%. So for us,
Yeah.
you know, especially
And mask on first, right?
right. That's one of my, you know, that's so crazy to that. I would say that all the time. I would say that to people. When
Really?
you're on the airplane, what do they say to you? They don't say put the mask on your daughter's face. They say secure the mask over your face first before helping others. It's very specific. And I love that. And I used to use it all the time. But what I will say is, you know, we black women, a lot of us have operated in this vacuum where we are at 50% and we've given 100 to everyone else.
Absolutely.
Right. So we're very low on, a lot of us are very low on oxygen right now. I'm just gonna leave it like that. And then we just need to get to this point where we, you know, if we need to pause. And I think that's why we're starting to see women leave the workforce. Besides being forced to, I'm also seeing, you know, women's just like, you know, I just can't do it. I'm gonna go hop on this pandemic assistance and I'm gonna take care of my family because they matter more. And I always say my family matters more than any business I have, any job that I have. And that's that on that. And that, you know, we can change subjects, but you know, that's it. You know, these kids are, if you're gonna have kids, they are important. They don't have to be your whole life where you're not like eating and sleeping and stuff like that. But you know, no, I mean,
yeah. No, I get it. We get it. Yeah, I totally hear you. I think Zanade and I were so passionate about just our work, both of us, and our passions, which, you know, I've been sharing this in each episode. So basically with Community Connections, that night I talk about with the wine and me being like, I'm just going to do this. I don't really know. At first, data. And I set it up, and really it was very simple. It was the onset of the pandemic, and it was, how are you doing? How are you pivoting? That was the mission. Now that it's 2021, it's how can we at Community Connections now help you define your passion, and then through networking and leadership, turn your passions into reality. And so I like that shift. And Zanade has provided such wonderful feedback and inspiration, I hope, to all of you that are listening and hearing that. Number one, I want you to hear, like, women, mothers, parents, fathers, we are low on oxygen right now. This is unacceptable. It's That's not right. Okay. And I also feel like with it being a new year, we're talking about rebranding, and, you know, I've rebranded even and pivoted, but it's not a new year with COVID. In fact, the longer the pandemic continues, the more help we all need.
That's
So
right.
bringing that to the forefront. So Zanade, I know that you are, what I love about you is you have such a growth mindset. You're always, I have the honor of being interviewed by you once before, and I've seen you take notes down. And I know you're a big reader, as am I. And so I would love to ask you what some of your favorite resources are that you use for inspiration, creativity, motivate. You're so talented. It's like, I don't even know what I want to focus on with you and like resources, but
one day you're gonna come to the house and you're gonna like because I see your library, which I love. Wait till you see mine, girl. Wait, you're gonna be like, I mean, oh, it's just a wonderland. So I always have 5,000 books behind me. So I will.
Yes, y'all, I'm so excited. I love it when she puts all her stuff.
I'm like, I'm already picking up stats. I have tons. I do not play when it comes to my books. The one thing I will say is, and I know this, anyone, you can get this anywhere, is a journal, right? So you want to write, and you don't have to. I know some people say, I can't commit to writing every night. It's fine. Just have a place where you can write some of those thoughts down. This book, and it's called How to Read a Book. It is so good. It's so good. And it helps you, right? Yeah, it's good. Intelligent reading, because a lot of times we read and we don't read to digest. We don't read to. We're just kind of like, on the surface reading, which sometimes, when you're reading that fiction book, I guess that's okay. I have read the Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison probably over 10 times. And it's because I do something called, Mortimer Adler calls it intelligent reading. I do deep reading, which I had learned about a decade ago in when I was in one of my college degrees or whatever I have. A teacher had taught me about deep reading, where you literally page by page read each page like it's a new book and analyze what you are. Yeah, so I do that a lot, and it does take time. But that's one thing.
I'm dropping actually your books in the chat.
Oh, okay.
You said the blue. What was that second book?
Oh, this one?
I thought you said something called like the blue.
Oh no, I didn't show it, but it's called The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. That's Toni Morrison's first book. And to speak a little bit on that, she's passed away, but she is my absolute inspiration, because she wrote her first book, I believe, when she was 36 or 37 years old. Mm-hmm. And I am a writer, and I keep on telling myself I'm not too old, right? So I've been writing this one book for 2 years that I never talk about, and I'm like 3/4 done, and so knowing her, having her inspiration is really, really good. Everyone, I think you may have heard of this one, which is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is always a classic, right? And if you are really, really, I know some people like Gary Vee. I've read these books so much, but like Crush It and Crushing It, right? Those books are good. And then I'll give you, because I can step over here. Give me 1 second. I have so many books.
All your stuff in, and I'm loving it.
It's insane. Like, my husband makes jokes about my books.
Libraries. Like, let's trade for like a week, and you can have my library. Like,
I will be in there all day. Here is a very classic book, and it's called Where Do We Go From Here? Mm-hmm. Chaos or Community, and that's by Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yep. Strategy, and you just, everything, really just deep thinking. And then the last one I'll show, which I think is very important. There are many books about, it's called The Magic of Thinking Big. I talk a lot about imagination and dreaming. We have been conditioned throughout the years, especially when we become adults, to stop dreaming and make it a goal, but you have to dream. You have to dream it up first before you can manifest it into an objective and a goal. So any book that you can get, or any book about creativity, drawing, anything to help you dream a little bit bigger than your worldview,
Yeah.
It's awesome. So yeah, and I can go on and on and on and on.
That was awesome. So for everyone paying attention, I think I got every book that she just spoke about. Yeah, Lisa Dabbs is saying yes. I put them in the chat for you, and my Amazon bill will be going up later tonight.
Always ordering books, please.
Me too.
And you know why? Listen, that's knowledge.
No, I don't want the Kindle. I want the real book.
Yeah. Oh no, I have to have physical books. I'm sorry. I'm old school. I just can't. I need to highlight everything. Yeah.
One of my very good friends, she's a designer at Dillard's, a home decor designer, actually.
Oh.
And I'm just like a lost cause to her. And I'm so happy to have her in my life. And so she designed my shelves. And she was like, have you read all these? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love a well-read person.
And then I realized, I was like, yeah, look at all these books. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Intelligent reader you are.
Life. Yeah, that sounded like big-headed. That was not my point. The point is just like, I don't know. There's
I get it. That wasn't big-headed.
The realness of like the books and physical and like them on your y'all can't see them, but I'm staring at mine. I look at mine like they're gold. I don't know.
That's
and I think,
right. Me too.
Like my heartbeat like calms down when I look at my books.
Oh, we are just kindred spirits. I think that's what this is, because I feel and you know what? I'm not a huge materialistic person, and it's so funny because people on the outside sometimes may be like, "Oh yeah, I'm not. I'm really not. I'm very basic." And if you want to keep it real, I have on my jogger pants underneath this really beautiful green dress that I have on. Like
I'm in house. I won't raise my leg up, but
right.
They're there.
That's right. So like after I end this, I'm going to be taking this dress off and put my t-shirt back on and eating dinner and regular stuff. But books are when I was younger, I didn't have younger siblings. It was just me. My older sister was about 10 years older than me, and I was alone a lot. So I fell into my books because I could imagine in my books. I could just not be in my current space in these books, and no matter what it was. So I'm more of a nonfiction reader, but here lately, the last couple of years, I've been reading like fiction books.
Escape with a fiction book, sometimes I'm a huge fan. I like the escape of a fiction book.
Okay.
But I'm with you, like I'm more nonfiction too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It really depends. One summer, I just read like all of the Black women authors that I could find. That was amazing. I was just like, whoa, what was wrong with me? I've never read these books before. But yeah, that was, that's it. But I hope that you all found, you'll find these resources very helpful. And if you definitely want to learn more, I'm always posting about my books. So, follow me, I'll follow you back, and you will get my recommendations.
Cool. Okay, y'all. I know we've been talking for a while, and that's, like Zanade said, we're practically kindred spirits. So we have 2 more questions left, and we can combine them, Zanade, however you kind of want this.
Can you give me 1 sec? I don't want to interrupt the thing, but my battery, I didn't plug my thing in. So give me 1 second. But I can still hear you if you want to ask the question, and I'll be right back. I'm just plugging it in.
Okay. We're in the long haul now.
I was just like, and I knew I should have plugged it in, but I was just like, no, we'll be okay. By the time I said, nah, we're gonna be good. But I also realized that I like to talk a lot, and that is a good thing.
Almost done, I promise. And you really kind of touched on what we're gonna wrap up with.
No, you're all good. I got it all plugged in. We are good. I am back, and just in case some of the people who will view this or are viewing it currently, I just want to say this is my daughter's beautiful painting of this beautiful Black woman. I love it. She also painted this pandemic girl. I don't know what it is, but I honor. Yeah. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So yeah. We've gone way over. So I'm going to make it easy because I know that you are a mom and you've got kiddos to deal with. So as we wrap up, thank you so much for everything you've shared. But I would love to just wrap up with, if you have any top tips for the everyday bold women about either defining their passion and using networking and leadership to take those next steps. So how we've talked about, a lot of the time it's like half the link of a chain, or it's one link. I feel like you and I both really understand the simplicity of that it's really not this giant leap that a lot of women think it is to reach their dreams and passions. So if
Right.
you have anything that you'd like to add, any top tips, as well as if you, I would love for you to share a call to action to any of your initiatives. That's what Community Connections is about. We want to market you. We want to promote you. We want to help you. You heard her say the Phoenix Fund is accepting donations. And so I want to open up the floor for you for top tips for the Everyday Bold Women and then your own personal call to action.
All right, well, let's take it away. So I would say some top tips. The first thing, and this is another book resource. I don't have it here, but something that made me believe in my own power was this book, and how to really get out of my own head was The Untethered Soul. And it was a very small book, but the first paragraph, it opened basically saying, like, in short, it's not you. This is your brain. This is how your brain operates. It didn't say it exactly like that, but to sum it up, that's exactly what it said to me. And I said, wow, almost like that message I said to the younger self. You're not crazy. You're not, you know what I mean? You can do this. And
Yeah.
so my real top tip is you have to find ways. It's easier said than done to say, hey, believe in yourself. But you have to find those things that are going to put you in a spirit of believing in yourself. So for one, I would say find your motivational powerhouse group. That could be on you. I'm so serious. Like, if that's on YouTube, you go in there and you type, maybe you only know Oprah Winfrey. Let's say you only know Oprah Winfrey. You go in there and do Oprah Winfrey's motivation, right? And YouTube is going to give you links and links of just every motivational speaker that is related to Oprah in some way.
Oh,
And
that's
just really, right? It always does. So
a good idea. Yeah.
like, listen, just literally listen
Mm.
to a motivational talk. Listen to one of my
Simon Sinek fan.
huh?
A huge Simon Sinek fan, as you know.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Do what you're saying to go into YouTube and do that. That's such a good idea.
That's right. There's two commencement speeches that I totally love. One would be, of course, Steve Jobs' commencement speech. I think that was at Stanford. I don't remember if that's where it was, but everyone loves that one. Listen to that one as he talks about life and karma and all this stuff, and just believing in oneself. And then the other one is the Denzel Washington University of Pennsylvania, when he spoke at that one, and it's just you start to believe that, hey, you are not alone. You are not alone. And I think what happens is here's the biggest tip: get out of your head. You got to get out of your head. Sometimes you got to be in your head, and sometimes you got to get out of your head.
Exactly.
And when you need to get out of your head, you go and listen to some motivational. Listen to somebody telling you, you are all that. You can do it. Write that down. Get those goals. And then all of a sudden your brain starts going, yeah. I'm not. And you start hearing other people's stories.
Love
and you're like, whoa, I'm not alone. I can do this. And it really is, it's tricking this thing up here.
I love that. I love that. That's so great.
Yeah, you gotta trick this thing sometimes. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
And then
cool.
Go ahead. Were you gonna say something? I was gonna go to a call to action.
Excited because I love your tips. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And then the call to action really for me is, you see the handle there, it's at Zanade. I would encourage you, because everything I'm doing is ongoing, to definitely follow me on any social media platform that you are on. I am most likely there. I'm on the top 4, so you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram at Zanade. Just a simple Google search of Zanade is going to pull up everywhere I am, everywhere I need to be. And then if you're a little bit more interested in the Black Women's Business Collective, I invite you to go and visit allinmybusiness.com. Yes, allinmybusiness.com. Go and sign up for updates. I won't spam you, I promise. I'm actually 3 weeks behind sending my last email, so you don't have to worry about spam. I will not spam you. But it's a great community. If you are within the Black and Afro-Latina community, it's wonderful to promote your businesses. And if you're not, we are looking for allies. We didn't get a chance to really talk about the cash problem, but I will name it here. The Black Women's Business Collective is all about getting cash to women, and cash is an acronym. So I want you to think of 4 things that women in business need. Women of color businesses need as well. We need capital. We need access, right? We need the buy-in, capital, access, strategy, and we need hope. And you get that hope from motivating that brain, whatever way you got to get it, We need strategy from these calls that we have. We talk about business and we do all these things. You learn something new, right? And then
Right.
you need access. When I say access, is if you are not a woman of color, if you are not an Afro-Latino woman, a Black woman, that does not mean that you cannot open a door, allow someone to walk through. You don't got to give the person all of your connections. Allow that person to walk through, welcome them, be a sponsor, not just a mentor, right? Just talking about that. So anyway, Cash, just remember, we need capital, we need access, we need strategy, and we need hope. The way you can help is capital and access, right? We need that. And if you want to learn more about that, go to allofmybusiness.com. And if you just want to hang out with me, you visit me on any of these pages at Zanade, and we'll talk. Thank you so much for typing that out.
Yeah, love. Oh, of course. That's it. I was typing away because I want everyone to have access to you and your important resources. And also, I'm also going to make a special ask to please donate to the work that Zanade is doing. Donate to the Phoenix Fund, the Black Women's Business Collective at allofmybusiness.com, and help her. You heard her say she speaks to every single one of these women. She is hands-on. We are good friends. I know she is doing the work, and I want all of you to please fund her to keep doing this important work. So
Thank
we
you.
went way over tonight, but it was so perfect. And thank you all for being here. And I have a feeling that Zanade is probably going to be on for a part 2 because
Oh yeah.
you're great.
Oh
And
yeah. Whatever you need.
I know, right? So Zanade, any last words before I just kind of wrap us up?
I want to say that what you are doing is beautiful. It's necessary. You are answering your call. Throughout this last year, I have seen so many women answer the call of whatever it is that the universe, God, whoever you believe in, has put inside you, and it always comes back tenfold. So keep on doing what you're doing, Star. And then for everyone else who's listening, I hope in this expansive conversation that we had that you found at least one thing or two things, and maybe if you learn something, share it with someone else, and just know that if you lead with love and you are truly honest about what it is that you want to do with yourself and do in this world, because we are all connected. Although this world will make you think that we're not, we are all connected. We're all humans. Be human to someone. Tell someone that you love them, that you appreciate them. Share a resource, open a door, and that's it. And thank you for welcoming me.
That is so beautiful. Yeah. And as all of you know, I'm a power connector. And so if you have any questions left over for Zanade, send them to me. Well, of course, send them to her on her platforms, follow her. But definitely know that you can also reach out to me and my platform. And I'll, of course, get anything that you need to Zanade as well. And yeah, thank you so very much.
This was so fun.
So fun. So fun. It's hard to get off, but I know we have to. And so with that, I'm going to close us out. Thank you again, Zanade. I want to share with all of you that next week is spring break here in Arkansas. And so I will not be having our shows next week. We won't have the Tuesday feature show, and then we will not have the Everyday Bold Woman show next Thursday, but we will, of course, the following week. So in the meantime, take a look at this video, check out these amazing books. Check out allofmybusiness.com. Follow Zanade, and I will talk to you all in a week. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Have a wonderful night and hug your families close.
Yes, tight.